Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show. Before I get on out of here, I had to talk about a story that's very, very important. And albeit indirectly, it involves Caitlin.
The golden girl of basketball has gone silent, but the noise around her is deafening. We aren't just talking about a roster snub anymore. We are watching the active dismantling of the biggest marketing opportunity in sports history. And according to the loudest voice in sports media, it might be permanent. Stephen A. Smith has just doubled down on a narrative that the WNBA establishment is terrified to admit. Caitlin Clark hasn't just been benched. She has effectively soft quit on a system that clearly never wanted her in the first place. For months, the media tried to feed us the line that this was about basketball criteria. They told us it was about chemistry, seniority, and paying dues. But when you peel back the layers of PR statements and carefully worded press releases, you find something much uglier. You find a story of resentment, gatekeeping, and a level of petty jealousy that has turned the Olympics into a battleground. Stephen A. Smith didn't just criticize the decision. He exposed the rot at the core of it. He hinted that Clark knows exactly what's going on, that she's being targeted, not because she's not good enough, but because she's too important. And now the rumor mill is spinning out of control with reports that even if Team USA came crawling back, Clark has closed that door. She is reportedly done seeking validation from a group of peers who have spent the last 6 months trying to physically and mentally break her. Why would the most popular athlete in America walk away from the global stage? What did Stephen A. Smith see that everyone else missed? And is this the moment the old guard of women's basketball officially killed their own golden goose? Buckle up, because the story of Caitlin Clark's Olympic exit is about to expose the dark side of professional sports that no one wants you to see. To understand why Stephen A. Smith is going scorched earth, we have to go back to the moment the news dropped. It was supposed to be a standard roster announcement. Usually these lists come out. A few fans complain about a snub and the news cycle moves on in 24 hours. This was different. This was a cultural earthquake. When the leaks started coming out that Caitlin Clark, the woman who was single-handedly selling out arenas that had been empty for a decade, was left off the team, the reaction wasn't just confusion. It was rage. The official explanation from the selection committee was flimsy at best. They talked about experience. They talked about the 3-year commitment required to be part of the core group. It sounded logical on paper, but it ignored the reality of what was happening in the real world. You don't leave Michael Jordan at home because he's a rookie. You don't leave Tiger Woods in the clubhouse because he hasn't paid his dues. You take the best talent and you put them on the plane. But here is where the story gets dark. Insiders began leaking that this wasn't an EDON oversight. This was a message. Sources close to the selection process whispered that there were concerns about how the veterans would react to Clark's presence. They were worried about the circus she brings. Essentially, they were worried that the presence of a rookie superstar would bruise the egos of the legends who felt this was their team. This wasn't a basketball decision. It was a management of feelings. They prioritized the comfort of the veterans over the growth of the game. And that is exactly where Stephen A. Smith drew the line in the sand. But what he said next didn't just challenge the committee. It accused them of sabotage. Stephen A. Smith is known for hot takes, but his reaction to the Clark snub felt different. It felt personal. He went on national television and essentially called the decision idiotic. But it wasn't just name-calling. He broke down the business of sports in a way that made the committee look incompetent. His argument was simple. The Olympics is a global showcase. It is the one time every 4 years that casual fans tune in to watch sports they usually ignore. Women's basketball has been struggling for viewership for decades. Suddenly you have a player who is bringing in millions of eyeballs. A player who has casual fans setting DVRs for random Tuesday night games in Indiana, and you leave her at home. Smith argued that this was a marketing disaster. He pointed out that Team USA isn't just about winning gold medals. They win gold almost every year regardless of who is on the roster. The gap between the USA and the rest of the world is so massive that they could have sent a college team and likely still won. The goal, according to Smith, should have been to grow the game, to expand the brand. By leaving Clark off, Smith argued that the gatekeepers of the sport proved they care more about their own hierarchy than the actual success of the league. He insinuated that there is a level of stupidity running the show that is almost impossible to comprehend unless you factor in malice. They didn't just miss an opportunity, they rejected it. And, according to Smith, this disrespect is something Clark isn't going to forget. He hinted that the bridge might already be burned and that Clark's camp is taking notes on every single person who stayed silent. If we're going to be honest about why Caitlin Clark isn't in Paris, we have to talk about the J word. Jealousy. It's the narrative the WNBA desperately wants to avoid, but it's the only one that makes all the pieces fit. Rewind to before Clark even played a single professional minute. The warning shots were already being fired. You had legends of the game, women who are on the Mount Rushmore of the sport making comments that felt strangely hostile. Diana Taurasi, one of the greatest to ever do it, famously said, "Reality is coming for Clark." It sounded like a warning. It sounded like a threat. Then you had Cheryl Swoops, another icon, incorrectly questioning Clark's college records and suggesting she was only dominant because she took 40 shots a game. Why were these legends so pressed? Why were they trying to diminish the accomplishments of a 22-year-old before she even stepped on the court? The theory, and it's one that Stephen A. Smith has alluded to, is that the old guard resents the attention Clark is getting. They played in empty gyms. They flew commercial. They ground out careers for little pay and even less recognition. Now, here comes a girl from Iowa who has private jets waiting. Nike deals worth millions and fans lining up around the block, and she hasn't even played a game yet. It's human nature to be envious, but in professional sports, usually the veterans embrace the rookie who brings in the money. When Tiger Woods blew up golf, the other golfers didn't hate him. They thanked him because he tripled their prize money. But in the WNBA, the reaction has been the opposite. It feels like they want to punish her for her popularity. And that toxicity in the locker room is exactly why Clark might be secretly relieved she didn't make the team. The resentment didn't stay in the press conferences. It spilled onto the hardwood. And this is where the story shifts from drama to physical danger. If you've been watching the games, you've seen it. Caitlin Clark gets hit differently. We aren't talking about tough defense. We are talking about non-basket plays. We are talking about the now infamous Kennedy Carter incident where Clark was blindsided with a hip check while the ball wasn't even in play. Carter called her a name and knocked her to the floor. It was a cheap shot, plain and simple. But look at the reaction. Did the league suspend Carter immediately?
No.
Did the veterans rush to Clark's defense?
No.
In fact, many players and media personalities seemed to justify it. They called it, "Welcome to the league." They said Clark needed to toughen up. Stephen A. Smith pointed this out as a massive double standard. If this were LeBron James or Steph Curry getting chia-potted by a nobody, the league would hand down suspensions instantly to protect their asset. But with Clark, it felt like it was open season. This connects directly to the Olympics. Why would Caitlin Clark want to board a plane and spend a month in a foreign country with teammates who either participated in this bullying or stood by and watched it happen? The Olympic team is made up of the very women who have been making her life hell for the last 3 months. The trust is gone. You can't build team chemistry with people who seem to want to see you fail. This brings us to the most explosive part of the current situation, the rumor of the soft quit. After the roster was announced, there were reports that USA Basketball might offer Clark an alternate spot. Basically, she would be on standby in case of injury. It's a consolation prize, a way for them to say, "We still value you," without actually giving her a spot. But sources close to the situation suggest that Clark had zero interest in being a backup plan. The rumor is that she politely but firmly let it be known that if she wasn't good enough for the main roster, she wasn't interested in waiting in the wings. This is the soft quit. She didn't hold a press conference. She didn't throw a tantrum. She just silently withdrew her availability. Stephen A. Smith's recent comments support this theory. He implied that Clark has realized her power. She is the economy of the WNBA right now. She doesn't need Team USA to build her brand. Team USA needed her to build theirs. By walking away and taking the month off to rest, she is effectively saying, "You made your bed. Now lie in it." It's a power move. It's a boss move. And it's driving the establishment crazy because they expected her to beg. They expected her to be grateful for scraps. Instead, she's taking a vacation while they play in front of television audiences that will likely be half the size of what they could have been. Let's talk numbers, because numbers don't lie. The Clark effect is real, and it is quantifiable. Games featuring Caitlin Clark are